Jean's going to be our next speaker. Giving him a little cue there. Jean Burellier, working on my French. I do speak French, actually. He's here all the way from France, and he did give me permission to tease him about that. So I think somewhere in his backpack he has a baguette and a beret. Didn't put it on. He'll put it on later.
Yeah.
So Jean is on the platform team with Node.js, and he's going to give an amazing talk today, from libraries to core. We're really looking forward to this. There'll be more announcements coming. I'm going to talk a little bit about the events this evening. I'll talk about the workshops later. But before we do that, let's give a big round of applause to Jean.
So, yeah, great. Everything is showing up, so that's amazing. Hello, everyone. So I will be talking today, and like quite the first time, I'm the first, let's say, speaker after the big presentation and everything, but let's talk about libraries and everything that moved to core. We are all used to, for the past, I guess, 10 years or so, something like that, to use a lot of dependency, to use a lot of library, to use pretty much everything that is coming for the community, and that's great. Yet, it also involves some issue from time to time. And in the past, I guess, year or so, a lot of people from the Node.js community jump in to add more feature into core, to also define some use case and how to do that properly. So let's see how, I guess, for the next 10 years, maybe we'll be working with Node.js and everything across the ecosystem. So just quickly, before that, so I'm leading the platform team at Sanofi, so we do drugs and we are an healthcare company. I'm also a professor at Superfo, which is a French university. And you can basically find me on multiple Node.js part of the project, mostly the Next 10 and an example initiative, but I'm also part of other projects. And you can find me on Twitter or X, I don't know the name anymore, GitHub, LinkedIn, and Blue Sky. Didn't put this one, but should be the same. Everything. So what are we going to talk today? Main point would be, so just quick pass on Node 20, what's new on Node 20 and everything. But the main part that are really interesting for us would be just to discuss about what's new around core feature of, let's say, features that were added to core, like the test runner, watch, loader, and everything around that. But also just to discuss, nothing really to show there, but to discuss about what's next and what may be coming in a close or not so close future, let's say, around that. So quickly, Node 20 was released this year, earlier this year, became LTS a few weeks ago. Node 16, you should remove that from your system and everything. Node 18, you can still use it, but if you can move to 20, it could be great. Node 21 also was released, so that just a graph quickly for everyone, because having everything up to date is always crucial and critical, so just a quick reminder in 10 seconds about update your Node.js runtime and everything. So from Docker, from your runtime, if you use AWS or any kind of serverless technology that provide a runtime, you can at least upgrade to Node 18, which is great. And on AWS side, for example, especially Node 20 should be coming quite soon, and I do hope a bit earlier than that, but let's see. I don't want to talk anymore really on everything around just Node 20 and everything like that. We did a talk with Michael Dawson that is here a few months ago, like a month ago, something like that, just to discuss about Node.js, what's next, and the big changes of the ecosystem. So you have the title, you have the link, and the slide will be shared, so feel free to check that also. And one of the big point of why I wanted to give this talk and why I tried to do this talk is because for me, changing how we work around Node.js and on building API or building even front-end application is something that didn't really change a lot in the past, at least 5 years, maybe a bit more. So the main idea is how can we do that? And it all started with a tweet from Ethan about developing Node.js with Node 20 with a lot of examples of what he was doing and stuff like that. And basically we'll go through some of those examples, mainly the loader part, how to use TypeScript out of the box, let's say a watch, test, and everything like that. So, okay, what's new and at the main part here? So we talk about watch. Who used NodeMon or NodeMon, depend on your use case, on naming and stuff like that. So only 5 people, like everyone is like Control C and starting again a process. Great. Okay, maybe I will change. Okay, so NodeMon is one of the most used tools. I think we all started to use that. Even today, maybe if you use Webpack or Vitest or anything else that provides something, we all started like at least 10 years ago. The only tool to do that was NodeMon. No, it includes a way to reload everything is included in every way to build any new tooling. But the main idea for us and for the Node.js now is to provide just a -- watch or an option to watch your file and to just start again your process every time you do a change. So basically, you don't need to install NodeMon anymore. You can just watch something and it will magically update or refresh or rerun every time you do a change or specific. So if we do, okay, great, not. Okay, should be, yeah, okay. Okay, so let's say you have just a basic file project with some random stuff there inside. So normally if you run something like node index.js, you do have an hello world, nothing really special, but the good stuff is now if you do add -- watch, you will have still an experimental warning because it's still experimental, at least part of 20. And if you change just something here, like, okay, well. So, hello, not the world, just hello node.conf. And then it's being reloaded pretty much automatically. So you already saw some of, like this use case is not something new. We have been using that with NodeMon or other tool like for years and years. The good stuff is now it's really just internal and part of Node.js, so which is pretty cool. And I think for people at least that do, so I do build a lot of CLI, building the platform team. I don't want to add a lot of dev dependency or a lot of stuff. So just having something out of the box part of Node.js when I'm writing, like could be script, could be CLI or stuff like that, is really, really great and also help with the development, the basic developer experience for pretty much everyone. So this is a base use case with a -- watch. The second part is if we change, like, okay, we do have a node.conf view, and let's say, and with everyone. By default, the comportment and how it's changed will be just to refresh everything, so you won't keep what was just displayed before. Depending on your use case, maybe you don't want that. So one of the like parameter of like that you can pass would be the -- watch -preserve -output, which basically allow you to, when it will be like refresh, or at least when everything will be reloaded, it will be displayed just below what was displayed before. So if I change that, up, watch, preserve, output, great, same warning. And now if I change and I guess, you can see just below with everything. And if I change and frogs, because why not? It's also displayed. So long live the frogs, baguette and stuff like that. Great. Add 2. Sorry, there's other French in the room, but I'm taking the blame for that. So yeah, so this is pretty good. So if you're running some specific use case or want to keep your trace with everything, you can do it with a -- watch preserve output, which is great. Okay. One next point also is, so by default on this example, I'm just focusing on targeting one file, so the index.js file, to watch. And basically what will be done, it will be fetching pretty much everything. So every import or part of the script that are needed or being imported will be also watch. But you can also just define with watch path. Basically you can say, oh, I want to watch this full folder, or if there is change on this folder, I can change it, or I will update and I will change. So this is one. Let's say, if I do create here, let's keep a basic src file. Let's have a main.js. And just so, let's say, okay. So by default, if I run, okay, just index.js by default here, if I change something here, you won't have any change because it's not being linked or anything. But if you want to follow that with, okay, we'll keep that. Do for your path. Yep. Path, and just to be sure, yeah. Did I? Whoop. Not watch path. Oh, yeah. Okay, still watching. So now, if I change and remove this, let's say typo, just to go back to hello, it should refresh everything. And if I do it again, yeah, not showing a lot there, but basically it's allow you to watch a specific folder or something specific, which means that you can watch, for example, some specific folder if you want for testing purpose or stuff like that, which can be great. Okay, this was the part with the test and, okay, on time. Second part is every time we are using, so I don't know, do we have some people here that use loader, the dash, okay? Yeah, guess so for people doing APM and stuff like that, and loading quite a stuff. And so loader is something that is like being discussed for, I guess, some people will have way more insight than me on that, but for a long time. So the main idea with loader is what can you do with that? Base idea is you want to be able to change how the module resolution is being done, and you can hook stuff on that. Basically, you could hook pretty much everything at the end on that part. So just to change, to pass specific file, to pass some compartment that you want to change and don't have a generic behavior on that. And for that, you will use a dash loader, let's say flag. On that, just one specific key here is when you use this loader, it will only be applied to ES module. So what can you do with that? Quite a lot of stuff. The main one would be how do you run, most of the time, how do you run TypeScript or how do you run everything that is not Node.js compliant or compatible by default. So you will use some other library or everything. Something that you can do on a project now would be to still have, so okay, still loaded Node on that. Some of the parts are like, you can still load your TypeScript on TS Node module and pretty much everything, but the main use case would be, okay, so you can load it. Okay, great. You can load a file by default. Okay, great. Wasn't expecting that. So you can load some TypeScript file and just to display that I'm not cheating with some stuff that shouldn't be like, this file is not something that could be run in a basic Node.js. Something it would crash if I do it like, to not cheat. Everyone, it crash, doesn't know how to handle TS extension or everything, but if you pass up a loader, you are able to read it, to run it, and because just I also pass and use a dash watch file, that means that if I change something and I'm not working for this company anymore and I'm working here, it will be reloaded by default. So you can also start to hook pretty much everything from TypeScript with watch, and you can combine pretty much everything around that. But you can also create your own specific custom file or let's say function to hook that to the loader and to be able to change some compartment, I guess, to change how Node.js would react to certain use case or be able to process some specific type of file or add some functionality, I guess. Okay, that's this one. And the last one would be the big one for me, would be the test, because I don't know if do we have some people maintaining or working on Jest, Mocha, or one of the big test runner here? Great, one. Cool. So I guess everyone is writing test. Do we have people not writing test? Great, one. You should write test. I don't have a big slide, write test. I should add that. But the main idea would be, okay, test is great. We all use test, or almost all of us use test and write test. So the main idea was also to add something part of Node to be able to run test, at least at first basic test on everything without the need to load another dependency from being Mocha, Jest, or pretty much everything. And how do you do that is today you have most of the big dependency or big test library that are like, I don't want to say not maintained, but not maintained as much as, at least for me, would hope. We had also, for example, I didn't put the tweet there, but there was not a discussion, but some tweet, at least last week, about some big testing library which changed from one maintainer to another maintainer just because this person didn't have time, which it's an issue if you don't have a good library being maintained for test and everything. Okay, so we have some base feature here for a test that we all expect for if we want to run tests. A runner, a watcher, a session, and a reporter. Basically, that's the main use case for pretty much everything. First good part, we already saw the -- watch will be the same. It will be reused for the test, so nothing new, let's say new on that part. But we also have the -- test if we want to run specific test or something around that. Okay, so how do you run tests? So let's say I want to, okay, I already did create and, okay, we'll maybe add some tests, but that's just to give you a big overview on how tests are being worked and how you can use that and do something around it. So basically when you want to use tests, you have at least one thing that you want to import. It's coming from Node test, so just it's not -test or something else, not _test. And you have most of the features that you expect from a test library. From describe, eat, test, let's not delete everything. So you can also mock after each stuff that you are used to most of the time when you use test or write test on pretty much everything. You can also skip to do if you want to write test, or remember that you need to write test for tomorrow. So that's the first part. And then you will be writing test as I guess you were always writing test, from using the describe if you want to scope some specific part of the test to some keyword like the it keyword on everything. And then you also have at least a library, so the assert library here, which is part of Node also on the core part. And you can freely write tests on everything. So this is really writing some really basic tests here. We are just asserting that is 1 equal to 2, is 1 equal to 1, is 1 equal to 1. So first one will be failing on this one, but you can also write some other kind of tests with a test keyword, test being async or sync if you want, and you can pretty much play with that as you would play with a normal testing framework or library on that. Just quickly. I will just remove this one first. So what does it display? So it displays the result of my test, how many time did it take to run, which tests were valid. So test 2 and test 3 were valid, but also the second part with the subtest 1. First one was failing because, of course, 1 is not equal to 2, at least yet. Maybe it will change, I don't know. On this part, but also you can skip. So for example, the last test here, the subtest 2 was skipped and it's displayed as being skipped. So just have to pass a simple parameter skip equal true, allow you to skip a specific test or stuff like something like that. So this is the main part, but you can also use, if you think it's too verbose and you have too much information there, maybe you want to use something else. And so basically you can, so the test reporter, we do have multiple reporter. I don't have the full list of my head on everything, but or maybe I have, no, okay. But one of the tests, so you have the default one, you have the dot, which is, so spec, I think is a default one, if I don't remember correctly. Yeah, spec is a default one. But if you want to run something else and you are like, oh, it's too verbose for me, I don't want to see all this text and I do prefer something really small, you can use dot and just have some, wait, will be easier that way. Some amazing design displaying dot and X to what's failing, what passing. So if you like that, great. Not sure it gives a lot of insight, but if that's something that you want to display, that's pretty cool. And I think, if I remember correctly on this one, you also have the type on that part. Bit less color, but a bit more like integrated with some other solution and system and pretty much everything. So maybe it could be a good use case to use it also on this one. Displaying every information, which file was tested, which kind of failure. You have every information that you expect to have on everything. And yeah, basically you can run tests with Node.js, no need for a library, no need for anything else to use or to deploy on that. So yeah, and didn't put that on the slide, but most on all the use case I did and at work on pretty much everything, the test runner were like globally faster than using a library or something else on my part. Around it. Okay, great. Okay, so I do have 5 minutes left. Main idea, I won't be going into a lot of stuff. I know there is a lot of discussion because being part of the next 10, every time we do have people like asking us when is TypeScript coming to Node.js or is the Node.js core being rewritten in TypeScript. I guess not today on that part, but so type is a big discussion. There is a lot of people and some people that will be presenting today or do workshop during the 3 days about types, about GSDoc and stuff like that, how to bring types as a whole in your system, in your solution and everything. One of the big part of that is there is also some discussion and a first, let's say, draft to discuss about having tests as part of the JavaScript ecosystem as a whole by default. When and if it comes through, it's another discussion and another topic, but we'll see. And for the time being, just write and use type if you want. Don't use type if you don't want, or if you want to use them, you have multiple ways to use them. So yeah, feel free to do that. And just on a last small point there, on Wednesday, we do have, let's say, a workshop. It's called a workshop, but you will find multiple collaborators that will be there. The main idea would be for us to discuss about, and with you and with the community, about specific topic, about initiative, topic that you want to bring, discussion, also meet collaborators and stuff like that. So feel free to join and jump in to discuss with us and pretty much everyone. And I'm on time with 4 minutes left. So if some people do have some question on that, feel free, like 4 minutes, like 4 questions maybe. Yep.
One question about the built-in test runner as a suit for the Node.js. How does it compare performance-wise to things like PyTest?
So for me, basically, every time I did, and I didn't move everything, like every test route I have on every project and stuff like that, but on, like, from memory, I would get from all use case I did, it was faster to run the built-in Node.js test everything than using Mocha or Jest or any other kind of library. So for me, it was a win, but I do have some specific use case. I guess if tomorrow you want to replace completely Jest on your front-end application and you do like snapshot testing or stuff like that, would be completely different. Not maybe, also you will have to hack something because it's not, I didn't try it, but I guess it's not fully handled because we don't have a way to snapshot DOM element by default, so you would have to build it on top of that, so yeah. Yep.
This is about ES module loaders. One thing that you can't do right now with a module loader is invalidate the cache, which I believe is a V8 issue, actually. So what you could do with common.js, you could actually reload a module for things like hot module reloading. Do you know if this is like high on the list or even on the list of stuff that's being looked at right now? Or?
I don't know at all, but if there is someone from the room that does know that, feel free to jump in. No, I don't have any information on that, sorry.
So I think this is a specification issue. It says in the standard that reload a module.
Yeah, thanks.
Let me get you the microphone here.
So about hot module reloading, it's clearly recognized to be a useful feature, not speaking for the V8 team, but from TC39, it's recognized to be important, but it's currently prohibited by the standard, which says that once you get something into cache, it's going to stably be there in the module cache. So I don't think it's accurate to call it a V8 issue. And yeah, if you want to work on built-in hot module reloading to the JavaScript standard, we have a call every week or two about modules and how they should evolve. So please get in touch with me if you want to be involved.
Thank you.
We just have one follow-up comment on the same topic.
Yeah, so meanwhile, in TC39, there's work going on virtualizing module loading. So you can, in the future, like, I don't know, it's going to take a year or two, but you will be able to provide your own implementation of what happens when you import a module.
and we have 1 minute for one last question. Oh, yeah, Matteo.
For hot model reloading with the loaders, if you really want to do it, it's absolutely possible. There's just a tiny little bit memory leak. So it's... No, let me rephrase this because this might be a funny comment. But the memory, like, if you use it for development, which is the typical case for hot module reloading,
Yep.
I've never seen it crash. So.
And if you want to know how to do it with loaders, come see my talk on Wednesday morning.
Perfect.
I love that.
And we do have 15 minutes left, 15 seconds, sorry. So perfectly on time then.
Any last questions? Let's call it there. Jean?
Great.
Thank you so much. Wow. That's the magic of NodeConf.